And happy Sabbath, everybody. Welcome to the word number 238. Good morning, Glenna. How are you today? She's very
Good. Good. How are you? And how is everybody in the chat?
Yeah, I am doing well. I got leftovers for breakfast.
I just ate a banana.
We always have those left over. Okay. Anyways, let's see if I updated this. I did. So we are continuing on in Jubilees. Pseudepigrapha.com is where I'm reading from. Glenna has a book. Lynn was here. She has a book. She was having a computer issue, though. Maybe she'll be back. But either way, we're reading Jubilees chapter 46, 47, 48, 49, and 50. As usual, let's go ahead and pray in, though, and get rolling. Good morning, Father. Thank you very much for bringing us together for this fellowship and just to study these books, these last chapters of Jubilees that you have brought to us. We're very grateful. We ask for you to pour out your spirit of knowledge and discernment on everybody that's here now and in the future. And we would seek your guidance and healing for those who are needing your help right now. We'll just put it at that. And thank you for everything. Everything is a huge blessing. Bless you. We love you. In Jesus Yeshua's name, amen. Okay. Today, the part of Lynn is being played by a spinning white circle. Okay. Anyways, the Jubilees, chapter 46. Hopefully we can get her in here. And I got to share so everybody can read along. If anybody knows where there's a bouncing ball app, let me know. Jubilees chapter 46. And it came to pass that after Jacob died, the children of Israel multiplied in the land of Egypt, and they became a great nation. And they were of one accord in heart. So that brother loved brother, and every man helped his brother, and they increased abundantly and multiplied exceedingly. 10 weeks of years, all the days of the life of Joseph. And there was no Satan nor any evil in the days of the life of Joseph, which he lived after his father Jacob, for all the Egyptians honored the children of Israel in the days of the life of Joseph. And Joseph died, being 110 years old. 17 years he lived in the land of Canaan, and 10 years he was a servant, and 3 years in prison, and 80 years he was under the king, ruling all the land of Egypt. And he died, and all his brethren and all that generation. And he commanded the children of Israel before he died that they should carry his bones with them when they went forth from the land of Egypt. And he made them swear regarding his bones, for he knew that the Egyptians would not again bring forth and bury him in the land of Canaan. For Macamaran, king of Canaan, while dwelling in the land of Assyria, fought in the valley with the king of Egypt and slew him there, and pursued after the Egyptians to the gates of Ermon. But he was not able to enter, for another new king had become king of Egypt, and he was stronger than he, and he returned to the land of Canaan. And the gates of Egypt were closed, and none went out, and none came into Egypt. And Joseph died in the 46th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the 2nd year, and they buried him in the land of Egypt. And all his brethren died after him. And the king of Egypt went forth to war with the king of Canaan in the 47th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year. And the children of Israel brought forth all the bones of the children of Jacob, save the bones of Joseph. And they buried them in the field, in the double cave, in the mountain. And most of them returned to Egypt, but a few of them remained in the mountains of Hebron, and Amram, thy father, remained with them. And the king of Canaan was victorious over the king of Egypt, and he closed the gates of Egypt. And he devised an evil device against the children of Israel, and of afflicting them, and he said unto the people of Egypt, Behold, the people of the children of Israel have increased and multiplied more than we. Come, and let us deal wisely with them before they become too many, and let us afflict them with slavery before war come upon us, and before they fight against us. Else they will join themselves unto our enemies, and get them up out of our land, for their hearts and faces are towards the land of Canaan. And he set over them taskmasters to afflict them with slavery, and they built strong cities for Pharaoh, Pithom and Ramses, and they built all the walls and all the fortifications which had fallen in the cities of Egypt. And they made them serve with rigor. And the more they dealt evilly with them, the more they increased and multiplied. And the people of Egypt abominated the children of Israel.
Chapter 47. And in the 7th week, in the 7th year, in the 47th Jubilee, thy father went forth from the land of Canaan, and thou wast born in the 4th week, in the 6th year of, in the 48th Jubilee. This was the time of tribulation on the children of Israel. And Pharaoh, king of Egypt, issued a command regarding them that they should cast all their male children which were born into the river, and they cast them in for 7 months, until the day that thou wast born. And thy mother hid thee for 3 months. And they told her regarding her, and she made an ark for thee, and covered it with pitch and asphalt, and placed it in the flags on the bank of the river. And she placed thee in it 7 days, and thy mother came by night and suckled thee. And by day, Miriam, thy sister, guarded thee from the birds. And in those days, Tharmuth, the daughter of Pharaoh, came to bathe in the river, and she heard thy voice crying, and she told her maidens to bring thee forth. And they brought thee unto her. And she took thee out of the ark, and she had compassion on thee. And thy sister said unto her, Shall I go and call unto thee one of the Hebrew women to nurse and suckle this babe for thee? And she said unto her, Go. And she went and called thy mother, Jochebed, and she gave her wages, and she nursed thee. And afterwards, when thou wast grown up, they brought thee unto the daughter of Pharaoh, and thou didst become her son. And Amram thy father taught thee writing. And after thou hast completed 3 weeks, they brought thee into the royal court. And that's 3 weeks of years. Okay. And thou wast 3 weeks of years at court until the time when thou didst go forth from the royal court, and didst see an Egyptian smiting thy friend, who was of the children of Israel. And thou didst slay him and hide him in the sand. And on the 2nd day thou didst find 2 of the children of Israel striving together, and thou didst say to him who was doing the wrong, Why dost thou smite thy brother? And he was angry and indignant, and said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Thinkest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian yesterday? And thou didst fear and flee on account of these words.
Jubilees chapter 48. And in the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Jubilee, thou didst depart and dwell in the land of Midian 5 weeks and 1 year. And thou didst return into Egypt in the 2nd week in the 2nd year of the 50th Jubilee. And thou thyself knowest what he spake unto thee on Mount Sinai, and what Prince Mastema desired to do with thee when thou wast returning into Egypt, on the way when thou didst meet him at the lodging place. Did he not with all his power seek to slay thee and deliver the Egyptians out of thy hand, when he saw that thou wast sent to execute judgment and vengeance on the Egyptians? And I delivered thee out of his hand, and thou didst perform the signs and wonders which thou wast sent to perform in Egypt against Pharaoh, and against all his house, and against his servants and his people. And the Lord executed a great vengeance on them for Israel's sake, and smote them through the plagues of blood, frogs, lice, and dog flies, and malignant boils breaking forth in blains, and their cattle by death, and by hailstones. Thereby he destroyed everything that grew for them, and by locusts which devoured the residue which had been left by the hail, and by the darkness, and by the death of the firstborn of men and animals. And on all their idols the Lord took vengeance and burned them with fire. And everything was sent through thy hand, and thou shouldst declare these things before they were done. And thou didst speak with the king of Egypt before all his servants and before all his people. And everything took place according to thy words. 10 great and terrible judgments came on the land of Egypt, that thou mightest execute vengeance on it for Israel. And the Lord did everything for Israel's sake, and according to his covenant, which he had ordained with Abraham, that he would take vengeance on them as they had brought them by force into bondage. And the prince Mastema stood up against thee, and sought to cast thee into the hands of Pharaoh. And he helped the Egyptian sorcerers. And they stood up and wrought before the evils. Indeed, we permitted them to work, but the remedies we did not allow to be brought by their hands. And the Lord smote them with malignant ulcers, and they were not able to stand, for we destroyed them, so that they could not perform a single sign. And notwithstanding all these signs and wonders, the prince of Mastema was not put to shame, because he took courage and cried to the Egyptians and pursued after thee with all the powers of the Egyptians, with their chariots and with their horses, and with all the hosts of the peoples of Egypt. And I stood between the Egyptians and Israel, and we delivered Israel out of his hand and out of the hand of his people. And the Lord brought them through the midst of the sea as if it were dry land. And all the peoples whom he brought to pursue after Israel, the Lord our God cast them into the midst of the sea, into the depths of the abyss beneath the children of Israel. Even as the people of Egypt had cast their children into the river, he took vengeance on 1,000,000 of them, and 1,000 strong and energetic men were destroyed on account of one suckling of the children of thy people, which they had thrown into the river. And on the 14th day, and on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th, the prince of Mastema was bound and imprisoned behind the children of Israel, that he might not accuse them. And on the 19th, we let them loose, that they might help the Egyptians and pursue the children of Israel. And he hardened their hearts and made them stubborn. And the device was devised by the Lord our God, that he might smite the Egyptians and cast them into the sea. And on the 14th we bound him, that he might not accuse the children of Israel. On the day when they asked the Egyptians for vessels and garments, vessels of silver and vessels of gold and vessels of bronze, in order to despoil the Egyptians in return for the bondage in which they had forced them to serve. And we did not lead forth the children of Israel from Egypt empty-handed.
"49. Remember the commandment which the Lord commanded thee concerning the Passover, that thou shouldst celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, and thou shouldst kill it before it is evening, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. For on this night, the beginning of the festival and the beginning of the joy, you were eating the Passover in Egypt, when all the powers of Mastema had been let loose to slay all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive maidservant in the mill, and to the cattle. And this is the sign which the Lord gave them. Into every house on the lintels of which they saw the blood of a lamb of the first year, into that house they should not enter to slay, but should pass by it, that all those should be saved that were in the house, because the sign of the blood was on its lintels. And the powers of the Lord did everything according as the Lord commanded them. And they passed by all the children of Israel, and the plague came not upon them to destroy from amongst them any soul, either of cattle or man or dog. And the plague was very grievous in Egypt, and there was no house in Egypt where there was not one dead, and weeping and lamentation. And all Israel was eating the flesh of the paschal lamb and drinking the wine, and was lauding and blessing and giving thanks to the Lord God of their fathers, and was ready to go forth from under the yoke of Egypt and from the evil bondage. And remember thou this day all the days of thy life, and observe it from year to year all the days of thy life, once a year on its day, according to all the law thereof, and do not adjourn it from day to day or from month to month. For it is an eternal ordinance and engraven on the heavenly tablets regarding all the children of Israel, that they should observe it every year on its day, once a year, throughout all their generations. And there is no limit of days, for this is ordained forever. And the man who is free from uncleanness and doth not come to observe it on occasion of its day, so as to bring an acceptable offering before the Lord, and to eat and to drink before the Lord on the day of its festival, that man who is clean and close at hand will be cut off, because he offered not the oblation of the Lord in its appointed season. He will take the guilt upon himself. Let the children of Israel come and observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time, on the 14th day of the first month, between the evenings, from the third part of the day to the third part of the night. For 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third part to the evening. That is that which the Lord commanded thee, that thou shouldst observe it between the evenings. And it is not permissible to slay it during any period of the light, but during the period bordering on the evening. And let them eat it at the time of the evening until the third part of the night. And whatever is left over of all its flesh from the third part of the night and onwards, let them burn it with fire. And they shall not cook it with water, nor shall they eat it raw, but roast on the fire. They shall eat it with diligence, its head with its inwards thereof, and its feet they shall roast with fire, and not break any bone thereof. For of the children of Israel no bone shall be crushed. For this reason the Lord commanded the children of Israel to observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time. And they shall not break a bone thereof, for it is a festival day, and a day commanded, and there may be no passing over from day to day and month to month, but on the day of its festival let it be observed. And do thou command the children of Israel to observe the Passover throughout their days, every year, once a year, on the day of its fixed time, and it will come for a memorial, well pleasing before the Lord, and no plague will come upon them to slay or to smite. In that year in which they celebrate the Passover, in its season, in every respect, according to his command. And they shall not eat it outside the sanctuary of the Lord, but before the sanctuary of the Lord. And all the people of the congregation of Israel shall celebrate it in its appointed season. And every man who hath come upon its day shall eat it in the sanctuary of your God before the Lord from 20 years old and upward. For thus it is written and ordained that they should eat it in the sanctuary of the Lord. And when the children of Israel come into the land which they are to possess, into the land of Canaan, and set up the tabernacle of the Lord in the midst of the land in one of their tribes, until the sanctuary of the Lord hath been built in the land, let them come and celebrate the Passover in the midst of the tabernacle of the Lord, and let them slay it before the Lord from year to year. And in the days when the house hath been built in the name of the Lord, in the land of their inheritance, they shall go there and slay the Passover in the evening, at sunset at the third part of the day, and they will offer its blood on the threshold of the altar, and shall place its fat on the fire which is upon the altar, and they shall eat its flesh roasted with fire in the court of the house, which hath been sanctified in the name of the Lord. And they may not celebrate the Passover in their cities, nor any place save before the tabernacle of the Lord, or before his house where his name hath dwelt. And they will not go astray from the Lord. And do thou, Moses, command the children of Israel to observe the ordinances of the Passover, as it was commanded unto thee. Declare thou unto them every year and the day of its days, and the festival of unleavened bread, that they should eat unleavened bread 7 days, and that they should observe its festival, and that they bring an oblation every day during those 7 days of joy before the Lord on the altar of your God. For ye celebrated this festival with haste when you went forth from Egypt, till you entered into the wilderness of Shur, for on the shore of the sea ye completed it.
Chapter 50. And after this law I made known to thee the days of the Sabbaths in the desert of Sinai, which is between Elim and Sinai. And I told 3 of the Sabbaths of the land on Mount Sinai. And I told thee of the Sabbaths on the land of Mount Sinai. And I told thee of the Jubilee year in the Sabbaths of years. But the year thereof I have not told thee till ye enter the land which ye are to possess. And the land also shall keep its Sabbaths while they dwell upon it, and they shall know the Jubilee year. Whereof I had ordained for thee the year weeks and the years and the Jubilees. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, and 1 week and 2 years, and there are yet 40 years to come, literally distant, for learning the commandments of the Lord until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Jordan to the west. And the Jubilees shall pass by until Israel is cleansed from all guilt of fornication and uncleanness and pollution and sin and error, and dwells with confidence in all the land, and there shall be no more a Satan or any evil one, and the land shall be clean from that time evermore. And behold, the commandment regarding the Sabbath, I have written them down for thee, and all the judgments of its laws. 6 days shalt thou labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it ye shall do no manner of work, ye and your sons and your men servants and your maidservants and all your cattle, and the sojourner also who is with you. And a man that does any work on it shall die. Whoever desecrates that day, whoever lies with his wife, or whoever says he will do something on it, that he will set out on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling, and whoever draws water thereon, which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his house shall die. Ye shall do no work whatever on the Sabbath day, save what ye have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest, and keep Sabbath from all work on that day, and to bless the Lord your God, who has given you a day of festival and a holy day, and a day of the holy kingdom, for all Israel is this day among their days forever. For great is the honor which the Lord has given to Israel, that they should eat and drink and be satisfied on this festival day, and rest thereon from all labors which belongs to the labor of the children of men, save burning frankincense and bringing oblations and sacrifices before the Lord for days and for Sabbaths. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days in the sanctuary of the Lord your God, that they may atone for Israel with sacrifice continually from day to day, for a memorial well pleasing before the Lord, and that he may receive them always from day to day, according as thou hast commanded. Every man who does any work thereon, or goes a journey, or tills his farm, whether in his house or any other place, and whoever lights a fire, or rides on any beast, or travels by ship on the sea, and whoever strikes or kills anything, or slaughters a beast or a bird, and whoever catches an animal or a bird or a fish, or whoever fasts or make war on the Sabbaths. The man who does any of these things on the Sabbath shall die, so that the children of Israel shall observe the Sabbath according to the commandments regarding the Sabbaths of the land. And it is written in the tablets, which he gave into my hands, that I should write out for thee the laws of the seasons, and the seasons according to the divisions of their days. Herewith is completed the account of the divisions of days.
Okay, let's go back to 46. Chapter 46, that is. Len, we're going to have to write you a letter of instruction for being tardy to work this morning.
Hey, it doesn't happen very often. Can't you cut me a break this time?
You're supposed to say, I brought you coffee.
Here's the coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
The
What did you
dog
get?
ate your cord.
That's true.
Yeah. What do you got from 46?
Well, in the beginning, you got the new moon of the 4th month, so it's getting ready for the summer season.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
And did you get? You were probably busy messing with computers. Did you get anything out of 46 there, Lynn?
I just found it interesting. They're saying there was no Satan nor any evil all the days of Joseph's life, and then he died, and then this evil guy comes in.
Yeah, and then the division.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. And then the king of Assyria came over there, and he killed the king, that first evil king of Egypt. Apparently, after this, it looks like. So then they just, but then another king. He just closed up Egypt. It just makes me wonder: is that when they divided in Egypt? When they had 2 pharaohs, maybe one.
It kind of sounds like that. Like one was the appointed overseer, kind of like when the Allies took over Germany after World War II, and you had the American zone, the French zone, the British zone, and the Russian zone.
Okay.
Yes. Speak.
I'm sorry, but I was quoting something from the chapter before, but I'd underlined something here that I had not picked up on before. Where in oh golly, what is it in verse 6? Pursued after the Egyptians to the gates of Ermon. Is that supposed to be like Hermon? Hermon?
Could be. It's hard to tell when they change the languages so much about stuff. Like, look at a good example of that would be Armageddon. Everyone says it means the Valley of Megiddo. But Steve Mutria was looking at it, and he was like, actually, I think that is the incorrect translation, and maybe it should be, or someone else did this, but he picked up on it. I think that should be the mountain talking about in Jerusalem, the mountain in Jerusalem, where everyone's going to gather. And I can see that too, because everyone's going to be angry at whoever's there in that area, gathering the nations together. So, very interesting. Yes, that does sound like the Twilight Zone when they both have their mics on at the same time. But we are in Jubilees too. Oh. Okay. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I have anything for 46. What do you got for 47? Is this a rapid summary of Moses's life or what?
Hey, how's that pretty cool? Since when did any other nursing mother get paid for nursing her baby?
Have you not heard of welfare? Okay.
So they were doing that for 7 years. Wait, did I read it wrong?
You
I
mean
must have
killing
read
the
that.
first one?
Yeah. Okay, it didn't say that.
What verse?
No, it's the 7 months. I misread it when I was looking at it.
All right. That is pretty slick though. because it's definitely not welfare. It's hey, we're going to kill your child, and then you give up your child, and someone in the system adopts your child, and then they're like, hey, we'll pay you to nurse your own child, which we don't know is yours. Very interesting.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's kind of a poke in the eye to the powers that be. It's like, yeah.
So then I'm guessing it says he's what is it? He's 3 weeks of years in verse 10. So that means he's 21, right? Okay. And then they rapidly go over why he fled. How dare you hurt my brother? I'm going to kill you. Hey, you guys are brothers. Quit fighting. Are you going to slay me as you slew the Egyptian? Okay. Let's go to 48, shall we? These are, you know what this is? Cliff notes. These last few chapters. It's like when they tell you to read The Grapes of Wrath in high school. So you get the Cliff Notes, and the teacher's like, thank you for the book report on the Cliff Notes. No.
I had not even heard of Cliff Notes until I was in college. I had no idea that anything like that existed.
Wow. Well, they smarterized us in high school. With Cliff Notes. Okay. And it's always because one teacher said, and don't use Cliff Notes, I'll know. What are Cliff Notes? I don't know. What are Cliff Notes? Okay. 48. So they come up with the scheme to bring them into bondage. Right? And then Moses takes off. Moses comes back, and it's talking about these signs and wonders. What verse? There's a verse in here that says something about he put ulcers on them. And when we were reading that today, it reminded me of all the things that people get now that cause skin ulcers. Right? Holes in your skin. Like, what's the, like MRSA?
MRSA,
Meth habits.
right? Yeah, reckless fights and yeah.
People doing drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the grievous sores. Isn't that the phrase used in, is it Revelations?
Yeah. Noisome, which is stinky.
When I hear noisome, I think of something like actually audible. like the sores are crying out and speaking. I think there was a horror flick back in the 50s where somebody had these sores and they were all like talking or screaming.
Maybe they were talking, going poop, poop, poop. Every time they, yeah, I don't know. Yuck.
Is that like when you say your dogs are barking, your toes hurt,
Is Jonathan frozen?
I think Jonathan froze.
I was frozen.
Oh, he's got twins.
Yeah, my computer just said, your computer was restarted because of a problem with the internet. Huh.
Hmm.
I must have been getting ready to say something a bit too profound. Yeah, we were talking about knowing some stinky sores is what we were talking about when I disappeared. Yeah, I was sitting here talking and my computer went black. It's like, huh. Okay. That was fun.
Okay. This Prince Mestima. Now, he sounds like the one that goes around and kills all the firstborn. So is this the principality over Egypt? Who is Prince Mestima? Mestima.
It does make me think that it is a principality, the way it's talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because said he was set to slay you in the road when you were returning to Egypt. But then in Jubilees, it says that Zipporah circumcised their son because the angel of the Lord was waiting to slay him because he hadn't circumcised his sons yet. So who is this?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they confounding whoever translated this, putting something in there from somewhere else that they thought needed to be in there?
A mystery.
Wasn't Mastema mentioned earlier in this book when with Noah?
I don't remember. If anybody remembers, put it in the chat. If you know for certain.
It's chapter 10, verse 8. The chief of spirits came. Well, he's there.
And they call him Mastema there?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And he taught Noah, he taught Noah all their medicines.
Yeah. So that's interesting there. It may mean something that we don't have a grasp of in English. I don't know.
Hmm.
So I found it interesting. Verse 14, 1,000,000 Egyptians. Is that the firstborn? Or is that the number of the army that was caught in the Red Sea?
I think there was so many killed for every baby that was thrown in, Hebrew baby that was thrown into the river and drowned.
I can see that. Okay. And then they got there. What did you think of in verse 18? And on the 14th, we bound him that he might not accuse the children of Israel on the day when they asked the Egyptians for vessels and garments, vessels of silver and vessels of gold and vessels of bronze, in order to despoil the Egyptians in return for the bondage in which they had forced them to serve. For whatever reason, that reminded me of people crying about reparations right now. $1,000 men for one infant. Okay, anything else for 48? Let's go to 49. 49. Okay, this is all about the Passover. Did anything jump out at you in this?
It's saying we're supposed to come to the tabernacle.
Right? Well,
Well,
it says, I was looking at that too. It says the men. Does that mean the women were not supposed to go eat it in the tabernacle?
20 and older, right?
And it also gives an age.
Yes, 20 and older, age of accountability. One more time, written like just like it is in Deuteronomy and all that. 20 and older.
So that makes me think back to when it was talking about Moses entered into Pharaoh's court at 21. And our society now, the age of full accountability is 21. Huh.
But I have a question. How are all those 20-year-olds going to fit into the sanctuary? I mean, wouldn't it just be busting at the seams?
Would it? It's a pretty big sanctuary. If you look at it, the one, what is the can't think of the website, the one that Rob Skiba found with the round tabernacle.
Mhm.
With the Holy of Holies in the center of it. So it looks like a giant eye, basically. And yeah, if anybody has that website, post it so you know what I'm talking about.
Wasn't it like Project 314?
Maybe it was. Let me look. That it is Project 314. Yeah. It even has a morphing tabernacle on their homepage. Let's see. Let's share it real quick. Presenting. Project314.org. So once you expand those dimensions out to that circle, see how tiny that little dude is right there? Now, the question is, if they go through, when they go through to partake in this tabernacle, is it like the potluck at church where everybody grabs a plate and goes down the line? I'm being serious.
I've been to Passovers like that.
I've not been to one outside my house, so for me, it remains to be seen. And yeah, everybody disappeared when my computer crashed. The chat died. Okay, so I found that interesting. And then talking about the Sabbath. Let's see here. Well, actually, this whole chapter is on the Passover.
Until the end.
Remember when we were talking about the calendar before? And he said there's going to be people that start mucking it up with the moon. Are you guys frozen or am I frozen again? No, okay. That
Looks like Glenna's
Glenna.
frozen.
Oh, yeah, she looks frozen. Anyways, we were talking about once they start pursuing the moon, they're going to muck up the whole calendar. She's there's two of her. Okay. So remember that, Glenna, when the calendar, they were saying it's the moon. The people that start following the moon are going to mess it all up. I find it interesting that this chapter in Jubilees 49 says the Passover will be on a fixed day every year, and it shall not move from that fixed day.
Yeah, and the moon, she does her own thing. That's why they call her she. Okay. You never know what she's gonna do. Yeah, it's a fixed day. It's a fixed day. The sun is consistent, okay? And okay, what we got?
There's a dog calendar on Tuesday.
Yeah, right on.
Yep, which incidentally always gives us the first night after the crucifixion, Wednesday night. So Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, sometime during Saturday night, because they went to the tomb while it was yet dark.
And I love the consistency because you've got the days falling on the exact days of the week all the time. It is consistent. You know, if the thing is making sure, trying to figure out where it starts, and then it's consistent. It's always on the same day of the week. I love it.
Tis amazing.
That makes it really easy for us to observe these things from year to year because we know when it's coming, and we follow the I don't know, what do you want to call it, the wave or whatever. We're following along with the seasons correctly. Our bodies are following along, our spiritual life is following along, and we're all lined up when we're doing that. And it's amazing because it's so simple.
Yep. Okay. Anything else for 49? Let's go to 50. Yeah, we are closing in on Passover fast. It's coming up. Okay, so 50. This is where he's getting into describing the Sabbaths. And not only for humans, but for the land. Not only for man, but for the land. Right? The Sabbath year, the seventh year, which is why they were taken into captivity.
It seems like the land knows better than us.
Yep, but how does it described in the Torah, in the Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy? Says when you don't start following these and don't let the land rest, the land, and you start doing all these things with idols and stuff, the land is going to vomit you out. And to vomit them out, it did. You know what? That just blew my mind. You know who else got vomited out? Jonah, right onto the beach. It's a thing. You get once you get vomited out, then you do the work of Yah.
Mild form of discipline.
Okay. I have no idea what that was. Yeah. Can you say that again, Glenna? Can you repeat that? No, it's gone. Okay. Let's
She said
see.
it was a mild form of discipline.
Okay. A generational discipline.
But if you're vomited, once you vomit it out, yeah, you're not going to want to go back and get swallowed up again.
Yep. I don't think so, Rin, because she's asking, we are dispersed. I'm wondering if we should go by the time in Israel always. And the reason I don't think that is because if you follow the times as set, right, they always fall on the same day and they can be observed from the same point on Earth anywhere. Whereas some of these calendars get janky and they'll be off a day or two depending on where you are on the face of the earth by their measuring. Yep, that's another case of vomiting. Adam and Eve were vomited out of the garden. So this, I think this pretty much gives us a good summation of, let's see, this chapter here of what is allowable or not allowable on Sabbath. And there's a lot of stuff that people have added to it. And this may be an added to list as well, but this seems much more reasonable than a lot of the stuff people say, like, if you turn on a light switch, you're violating Sabbath. If you eat something that was prepared 3 days ago, you're violating Sabbath. If you poop on the Sabbath, you're violating Sabbath. They're out there. Matt, I have to fast every week from Wednesday on. Okay. Okay, so in verse 8, we have the man that does any work on it shall die, and whosoever desecrates that day, or whoever lies with his wife, or whoever says he will do something on it, that he will set out on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling. So if you go on a start business trip, whoever draws water thereon, that he had not prepared it for himself on the 6th day, and whoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his house shall die. But then down further, what verse? 12. And every man who does any work thereon or goes on a journey or tills his farm, whether in his house or any other place, and whoever lights a fire or rides on any beast or travels by ship on the sea, and whoever strikes or kills anything or slaughters a beast or a bird, or whoever catches an animal or a bird or a fish, or whoever fasts or makes war on Sabbaths. Didn't Yeshua fast on the Sabbath?
In certain situations, it was asked of the prophets and Yeshua. That was designated. It was a designated fast that the Father was expecting. If he asks it, you do it. You had the men marching around Jericho for 7 days. This was directed by the Father. But to just, do it on your own accord, no, it's not acceptable.
So it must be less than a Sabbath day's journey, apparently, around Jericho.
Yeah, and what is a Sabbath day's journey? Okay. You don't ride a beast because the beast is supposed to be allowed to rest that day as well.
And I kind of jest on that because I think that's Talmudic, Sabbath day's journey. I believe it is. Because here it says, you shall not start a journey for business to buy or sell on a Sabbath. That's why we had to make boats faster. So if you wanted to go from one point to another, you could make it from Los Angeles to Hawaii in 5 days. Okay, anything else for chapter 50? No? Okay. All righty. So what are we doing? Oops. That's weird. Got a gnat infestation. I don't know where they're hiding. You got one too?
Black pepper.
Someone
Try
else
black
told
pepper.
me sugar and vinegar.
If they're the fungus gnats, Rosie said she put black pepper on. She saw it somewhere and she threw it in her plants. And then the next day there was a pile of those little dead gnats. And she goes, they were in a pile. So those fungus gnats, yeah, something about the pepper.
Yeah, they said they were selling me, I think it was, or maybe it was honey and vinegar, honey and white vinegar. For some reason, they're like, oh, this is the best smelling stuff ever.
Or the apple cider vinegar.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Either one.
I will pour about an ounce or so of orange juice in a little glass, and then put like some saran wrap over it and take a toothpick and poke 5 holes, and they go in there and they don't come out.
What if you put 7 holes?
They're more likely to find their way out. You know, it's just like, you know, I'll space them out almost like the 5 side of a dice, you know, a die. And they will find their way in and they won't get out.
Huh. Okay. Who wants to go back to bed? Me too. I'm ready to rest this Sabbath for sure. Well, thank you very much for reading, Glenna and Lynn and Matt. How did Lynn get up on top? Yeah. Oh, because I got booted off. That's right. Funny how that works. Yeah. Yep. It's a gnat trap they're talking about. So, all right. As I've mentioned before, we will pick up regular readings again later. We're going to do some changes, but I want to do some other studies that I think are timely for what's going on right now in the world. I did the study series called Time's Almost Up. Mm-hmm. And got a lot of flack for it. You're trying to predict the timeline. Hey, it's the way I'm seeing it. Time's almost up, except I have to tell you, you know how you wake up and you try to go back to bed and you have those really strange dreams? Someone wrote on the corner of a newspaper, time is up. Not time's almost up, time is up. And that's all I saw. And I was like, what? What was that? But it's also the same day. Someone who shall remain nameless unless they step forward told me they found a newspaper thing in a Band-Aid can with the date that their mom had written down. Yep. It was that next morning I had that. So it's all your fault that time's up. No, it isn't. See, if you go watch that series, Country Dad, I think we have dismissed out of hand things that have already happened. Because the people in pulpits have a vested interest in keeping us blind.
But we need to be aware that the two witnesses have to come on the scene too.
Yeah, are they on YouTube?
If they are out there, the only place we would see them is on YouTube.
And the only people that I think meet that could be right now are those people that started the One for Israel ministry. Those guys have death threats on their head. They wear t-shirts, which is kind of like modern day sackcloth. It's the cheapest stuff you can wear. But they're flat out spelling it out. All you funny Hasidic Jews and Orthodox Jews rejected Jesus Messiah. And they're preaching a death warrant on him, saying you need to repent from that sin. So, yeah, I think there's a lot more that's happened. And I think there's a lot under our eyes that's been misconstrued to not be seen, you know. But it's neither here nor there. The thing is, get right with our Father, our Heavenly Father, through his Savior, Jesus Christ, that is Yeshua Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Seek him every day, every morning, every
no
evening,
matter
all day, every day.
You're popping again.
Me or Lynn?
It's not my equipment.
They hate me
Probably
this morning. Okay. Everybody, like, share, subscribe. If you got something out of this, if you didn't, like, share, subscribe anyways. Ring the bell thingy. We'll be back. We'll get some good stuff out. I'm glad you all made it. I love you all. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye.